Greetings from the Ukrainian Startup Fund. So we are ready to start our online event within the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, Raw Materials Initiative. And our first panel discussion, Innovations for Sustainable Future, is dedicated to the general understanding of sustainable development, green tech, and its importance. So why it is really important? First of all, raw materials are essential to securing a transition to green energy technologies, growth and sustainable consumption, and to securing access to clean and efficient consumer technologies. To understand this industry more deeply, today we will enjoy a panel discussion on the topic of sustainability with key European and national ecosystem stakeholders. About the agenda, first we will hear the welcoming words and then enjoy the speeches on sustainable development goals, effective management of raw materials, and unique approaches to innovation. Also, we will hear the case study from the co-founder of Sustainable Startup and CEO of Sunroof International Holding. And now it's time to start with a welcome speech from Alexis, Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine for European Integration.
Dear colleagues and participants of today's panel discussion, I welcome you. The active transformation of the global economy to an innovative type actualizes the issue of ensuring sustainable development through innovation. Every day, Ukraine demonstrates its courage and heroically resists Russian aggression, working tirelessly to overcome the influence of the invading action. At the same time, science, technology, and innovation will play a vital role in the speedy recovery of war-torn region of Ukraine. The Ukrainian economy currently needs systematic change in the field of innovative activity, which should be aimed at creating conditions for the development of the ecosystem for innovation, combining scientific and industrial potential, intensifying international cooperation in the field of scientific and innovative activity, ensuring the transfer of technologies and commercialization of scientific results, increasing the volume of innovative products and the sale of products with high profitability. A successful ecosystem for innovation brings together public, business, financial, and academic stakeholders in virtuous cycles of exchange. A coherent and functional ecosystem for innovation with outputs that are steered towards SDGs can have a powerful multiplier effect and a global and national level. It can help develop stronger technological and execution capabilities, effective management of R&D resources, and preserve human capital and digital talent. The ministry is actively working on the development of innovative infrastructure and exposition on its network. On August 9, the government adopted the draft law of Ukraine on innovation parks to determine the legal and organizational basis for the creation and operation of innovative parks on the territory of Ukraine to ensure the development of the Ukrainian economy in an innovative way. Draft resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine were prepared to develop the national innovation ecosystem in particular. On the introduction of an experimental project on the creation of a startup school, incubator, accelerator, network based on higher education institution and scientific institution. On the normalization of the procedure for the creation and operation of regional technology transfer centers. On approval of a procedure for providing financial support for the creation of high-tech industries with the participation of higher education and scientific institutions on the terms of co-financing. With the support of all actors in ecosystem for innovation, we will build new institution, restore the innovation infrastructure, and preserve the intellectual potential. Because missiles and tank attacks cannot destroy the intellectual foundation of the country. Thank you for your attention, and I wish to have a fruitful discussion.
And now I invite for the welcome word the CEO of Ukrainian Startup Fund, Pavlo Kartashov. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, it's give me eminent pleasure to welcome all of you. And secondly, I would like special thanks to representatives of European Institute on Innovation and Technology, because I believe it's a very prospective and good partnership with a lot of possibilities. And basically, we've been actually exploring all such kind of possibilities for a long time, but this is our first step toward further implementation and realization of the project in raw materials. And also, we are going to launch Deep Tech Acceleration next year, and I believe raw materials would be actually one of the key priorities for us within those projects as well. Basically, what we are doing now, we're trying to get together all stakeholders which are working in this sphere. Namely, these are institutes, universities, R&D centers, corporations, and many, many others. So our main focus is now matching those ideas and possibilities which are currently are possible and open to Ukrainian scientists and innovators. As you know, we actually covering all the spheres. So USF is working actually within all the industries, but for next year we have deep tech acceleration focus, and obviously we'll be more going into universities, trying to find those inventions and innovations which will boost Ukrainian economy, and which will help us to create more and more startups on SMEs. It doesn't matter actually, but this is going to be innovative SMEs, which will actually will be the only vehicle which could actually make our economy grow very fast. And especially this is actual during the wartime. So thank you all of you for participation in today's event, and we believe that our cooperation will be fruitful. We believe we'll find a lot of interesting projects, and we believe we will have a lot of different events afterwards, because it's our actually only first event today, but obviously we already drafted a series of different events, including hackathons, ideathons, and so on. So basically, we will try to involve many Ukrainian stakeholders. For example, today we have a meeting in Shevchenko University, also dedicated to EIT programs. And basically, we have a huge involvement from all over Ukraine. We'll be meeting some other universities next week, and our main goal is to create an environment where everyone is aware of what's going on, what is our main goal, what is the focus, and we'll do our best to actually follow best matchmaking and actually to make this initiative successful and productive. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for the welcoming words. And now we can move to the panel discussions with the speakers. And today our first speaker is Igor Taranov, Director General, Directorate of Science and Innovation of Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. So Igor, the stage is yours, and the topic will be about the science, technology and innovation for sustainable development goals. Welcome. We can see your presentation, but we cannot hear you.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to send very warm words of greetings to our European. One person. Can I continue and we wait for the presentation?
Yes, we can see your presentation, but connection is not really good. Maybe you can turn off your video and continue.
Yeah, we have right here.
Please turn off your camera.
Can you see it well or no?
Yes, yes, we received your slides. Thank you.
So the 769 specific targets constitute the ideal version of what mankind can inspire to achieve towards 2030. Frontier technologies will increasingly and unexpectedly change the landscape of challenges and opportunities for all nations, particularly to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Considering the key role of science, technology, and innovation in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and the importance of international cooperation and exchange for sustainable development and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, Ukraine joined the European nation global pilot program on science, technology, innovation for sustainable development goals roadmaps in March 2021. Since then, Ukraine has been working on the roadmap development using the smart specialization approach that proposes a localized, evidence-informed, and participative priority-setting process for research and innovation investments. A resilient innovation ecosystem is the only one way to address challenges and make responsible future-proof. Any successful path to the Sustainable Development Goals requires specific innovations as well as experimentation and learning by different actors who must collaborate around many coherent projects to achieve it together. Well, first, I want to present a general overview of the research and innovation ecosystem in Ukraine. And Ukraine's research ecosystem is characterized as a multi-stakeholder ecosystem. Research activity is carried out in higher education research institutions and organizations as well. There are 5 national branch academies of science, which include research institutions specializing in branch academies. For example, as you can see, we have more than 515 higher education institutions in Ukraine, more than 769 organizations in Ukraine, and we have different research infrastructure, which includes centers of collective use of scientific equipment, 103 centers for now, national research centers, it's 10 about in Ukraine right now, and regional research centers, 9 centers currently in Ukraine. The national innovation system includes asset institutions, elements of innovation infrastructure and resources. Well, Let's come back to the main resources. I mean about scientific and technical, financial and economic, industrial, social and cultural, and of course educational, which involved in the creation of application and scientific knowledge and technologies for innovation. Until the full-scale war launched by Russia against Ukraine, we were working on the mapping of the economic, innovative, and scientific potential of Ukraine for a sustainable development context. 225 days, Ukraine demonstrated courage and heroically resist Russian, but we have to be very thankful to Ukrainian army first, which defends our possibility to provide activity in the sphere of science, innovation, technology, and make our life more peaceful in very difficult conditions. Science, technology, and innovation will play a vital role, as you know, everywhere, not only in Ukraine, in whole the world, because it makes speed recovery of fortress region of Ukraine. The main problem which we facing right now in the sphere of science and innovation is impossibility of carrying out scientific and innovative activities at high level, both in full in regions temporarily occupied or affected by Shannon, and personally in other regions of Ukraine due to the destruction caused, forced displacements of researchers in safe place and insufficient funding. I'd like to inform you that currently more than 15% of Ukrainian innovation and scientific infrastructure had damaged. We try to concentrate our main efforts on the creation of appropriate conditions for scientists and innovators, as well as we pay special attention for the possibility of Ukrainian researchers to have free academic mobility, to try to join the programs for the return of scientists to Ukraine who were forced to leave the country. Next one very important direction is restoration and modernization of research and innovation infrastructure. We fully understand that main direction is the field of science and innovation and try to address all these efforts to the country primary needs and global world challenges, such as overcoming the consequences of armed aggression, food and energy crisis. One of a very important task for us is integration. I'm sorry, just technical issues. So one of the very important tasks for us is integration into the European and global you know, we prepared draft of resolution on open science and it is very important innovators because the sphere of science, attention, the mode of effective efforts
Our speaker is reconnecting, so we will wait for a couple of minutes.
Can I we have some difficult, I don't understand what that's.
I'm sorry, can you continue or we can move to the other speaker?
That's right. Yes, right. Everything is right. I don't understand what that means. I turn off my video. Maybe it will be better.
Okay, continue, please.
So let's continue. And I'd like to also remind that we have prepared very interesting platform. Let's come back to our support of Ukrainian investors and Ukrainian researchers. So with this goal, we have prepared very interesting and we have created very useful platform. I mean about the platform Science and Business platform, which continues to function in the Ukraine during the Martial Law 2. It's one of very important online platform for communication and effective interaction between the representative of business and the scientific community. This platform enables entrepreneurs to have access to leading scientific developments and scientists to realize their potential and commercialize their research. In martial law conditions, such a tool make it possible to find scientific developments that can contribute to the recovery and development of the country in its economy, and also to attract additional investment in the field of science from the side of Ukrainian business. Trying to boost innovation, it is very powerful for us. We have one very powerful tool, and it is science and business cooperation from another partners. I mean about the process of preparation science business setup, which can be had 6 days. It was held for dual purpose. This hackathon will prepared in cooperation with Ukrainian Startup Funds, and the main idea was to understand and to give more additional knowledge how to recover and to develop Ukraine in the very difficult condition during the war in Ukraine. We also pay special attention for reconstruction, for recovery, and for innovation of Ukrainian innovative infrastructure. And we mainly trying to prepare law legislative base and special regulation with framework for these papers. To quick inform and to give more information for Ukrainian scientists and innovators, we also manage very important Telegram bot, InfoScience bot. It was created with one papers to give very quick access to the useful information for Ukrainian innovators and for scientists. And to support the sphere of science and innovation and to restore the economy of Ukraine as soon as possible, the minister is working on the development of a concept and implementation of a program to support knowledge-intensive startups and the performance of which invites international partners to join. So, sorry, and once time, sorry for the technical issues. Hope today's panel discussion will give very important knowledge for Ukrainian innovators and for Ukrainian researchers. It try supporting us in the very difficult periods. Thank you very much. And I wish you all the participants very productive discussions and to try organize a new special network for cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Igor Taranov, and thankfully we could finish today's presentation. Yes, bad connection, it happens with everyone, especially now in this difficult times in Kiev, but thanks a lot for your presentation. So it was Igor Taranov, Director General in Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. And now we can move to another speaker for today. So I invite Michal Gorshinsky, Head of Impact Section and Innovation Officer at EIT, European Institute of Innovation and Technology, to talk about a unique approach to innovation. So dear Michal, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Yes, good afternoon. I don't know whether you can
yes.
hear me well. Yes, okay. And then also let me change the slides. Oh, and then probably now you can see, right?
Yes.
Fully the screen. Okay, thank you very much, first of all, for this opportunity and for inviting the EIT for this event. My name is Michał Górzyński. I am head of the director office at the EIT. I will have a pleasure to present you what EIT does, but mainly focusing on the activities that we are now implementing, which are aimed at Ukrainian stakeholders, and present our plans for 23-25. So, yes, I also expect that maybe we may have later on discussion and exchange to get your feedback on the ideas that are now under development. Of course, whatever we do, we try to consult with our Ukrainian counterparts. However, still we are at the stage of developing these activities. So also we will take this opportunity to get your feedback on what we are trying to design now. I will also present one activity which is up and running in more details, which is open opportunity for higher education institutions in Ukraine to invite them to the network, which is now developed under one specific program, which is covering higher education institutions in Europe. So before I start, let me share a few words about the EIT itself. Probably you may be aware what we are doing, but just a very short recap about our profile and about our focus. So EIT is is the body of the European Union, which has been established 13 years ago, with ultimate objective of delivering innovations through developing ecosystems. So three objectives which are put in front of the EIT are about enhancing Europe's innovation capacity, developing innovation ecosystems, and addressing challenges, societal challenges. We operate through so-called knowledge innovation communities, which are programs composed of several partners coming from different sides of so-called knowledge triangle. So bringing different type of partners which are instrumental for delivering innovations. You may see on the screen, so far we have around 2,500 partners in our communities, 2,900, but many more which are collaborating with our communities. How we deliver innovations. So we deliver our activities through our programs, which are called knowledge innovation communities. And they are designed under specific topics, under specific themes, addressing very specific challenges. Today event is co-organized with EIT Raw Materials, which is one of our communities, but also we have 8 other communities, actually 7, and 1 is under structuring. So we are covering very wide spectrum of topics, but again, focused on innovations. And by innovations, we mean focus on delivering outputs, delivering results, and impact. So we operate under the topic which is called climate change, under addressing energy issues. We are present in the digital sector, covering health, raw materials, food manufacturing, urban mobility areas. This year, we also selected culture and creativity KIC, and in 2026, we plan to launch a new KIC, which will be EIT Water. Every year, we are allocating to our communities, depending on the maturity level of those partnerships, starting from 20-30 to 120 million euro. On top, we ask all these communities to mobilize additional funding coming from private sector. So as you may see, we really have instruments that may, in a long term, deliver impact. Talking about the EIT, talking about the way how we are delivering innovations, we can summarize them in a way that EIT is connecting dots. It's bringing different type of stakeholders, but it's also trying to look at innovation processes from a horizontal perspective. So here you have on the slide some points which kind of define or frame what EIT does. So first, global challenges. Yes, we are addressing challenges, and our activities are driven by addressing those challenges, which are very much sector specific, but also trying to address challenges which goes across the sectors. And we have a special instrument, which is called cross-KIC instrument, that brings several KICs around specific topics, challenges that require our response. Entrepreneurial education, this is something what is it's kind of the unique feature of the program, because we are putting human capital in the center of innovation processes. So we have extremely important, relatively big component, very important, which is covering entrepreneurial education. Another important point is about financial sustainability, what means that we are funding all our knowledge innovation communities for 15 years, under specific conditions, of course. And then we expect that after 15 years, they will be self-sustainable. So during 15 years of our support, they will be able to or develop or collect or produce assets that should let them operate when our funding terminates. We do also some research, but research is mainly driven at or aimed at delivering innovation. So this is not the basic research. This is not what we do. Basic research is done by different programs. These type of research activities that we support are mainly at supporting the innovation processes. So very high tier L level. Very important element when we talk about our model is regional cooperation. Our knowledge innovation communities operate through so-called collocation centers, which are spread across Europe, which are embedded in the local ecosystems, but also which are also connected among themselves. I will show in a second a map of our collocation centers. Policy knowledge. We have different type of the stakeholders, business, higher education institutions, research organizations. We have also local authorities. And we also collaborate with authorities on the national level, what also brings certain value added for the community, because in many areas our knowledge innovation communities may act as test beds for certain policy ideas or certain policy instruments. One example can be AI, artificial intelligence, that we very much involved our community with policymakers on the European level to discuss the way how AI regulation in Europe should develop. Financial leveraging, I mentioned also that our knowledge innovation communities are not only financed by us. We expect that KICS will attract also other funding coming from private sources, coming from member states, coming from regions, coming from different programs. Actually, when we financed our knowledge innovation communities, the funding model looks like a bell. This is kind of the bell-shaped funding model that initially we invest a little, letting our KICS to develop structure, prepare for absorbing bigger amount of money. Then we are putting more and more funds, but then at certain moments we start decreasing our funding significantly. And we expect that during this kind of the growth phase, KICS would develop properly other funding streams that could replace our funding that is channeled towards different communities. So at the very end of our support for the KICS, we finance KICS only up to 20%, while at the beginning we fund them up to 100%. Yes, multi-party communities, this is very much linked with regional cooperation. Business acceleration, this is a very important element of what we are doing, very much reflecting our knowledge triangle approach. I will come back to this in a second. This also comes with SME and scale-up support, because depending on the sector and depending on the focus of the knowledge innovation communities, we may focus or on pre-acceleration or on acceleration or really on scaling up. Sometimes KICS cover all the way, sometimes they focus on specific segments of the process. EIT community cooperation, I touched upon these points. In case of some areas, in case of some, I wouldn't say challenges, maybe also challenges, in terms of topics of the common interest of the KICS, we are trying to bring them together under one umbrella to elevate impact of those communities. And I will present in a second one cross-KIC activity which will be covering also Ukraine in 23-25. Talking about the way how the KICS operates from the content point of view, they have three main blocks of operations. One is education, one is business creation acceleration. So we expect them to support startups development or even create startups. And we have innovation projects from which we expect products or services to be delivered on the market. We implement those activities in a way that they are interlinked. So all our education programs should be linked with the business sector, should have industrial partners, especially those which are implemented under our label. The same concerns innovation activities. When we are implementing them, we want KICS to also include alumni coming from our education programs, and also very often link them with business creation element, what means that, for example, products and services which are developed by the teams can be commercialized in a way that we may provide support to the teams to spin off or to create the companies which could be co-owned by the partners and also by a KIC. I mentioned that our co-location centers, KIC's co-location centers, are spread across Europe. So here you see where they are located. You may obviously notice that presence in Central Eastern Europe and Southern Europe probably is not to the level that it should be. That was also noticed by policymakers in the parliament, and we introduced a few years ago specific scheme which is aimed at bringing countries which are considered as a moderate, modest, or emerging innovators. This is terminology coming from European Innovation Scoreboard, to bring them closer to the countries which are considered as developed innovators or advanced innovators. And under this regional innovation scheme, we are mainly aiming at developing a capacity of regions to bring them closer to the mainstream of innovation processes, trying to engage them with the activities which are run by the partners from other parts of Europe. Also trying to link EIT, our ecosystems, with smart specialization strategies of the regions. Budget for EIT risk activities is around 10-15%. Our budget for 7 years is around 3 billion euro. So this can be considered as a quite significant amount of money. Under regional innovation scheme, we have specific tool. I mentioned about the cross-KIC activities. We have a specific tool which is bringing all the KICs which are operating in this in Central Eastern Europe and Southern Europe, and they are developing jointly several activities which are of their interest and which are also aimed at developing the capacity, but in a more of the regions of the risk regions, but in a more coordinated way. We have this list of actions that we are doing. One of them is EIT Jumpstarter, which is pre-accelerator program, which is covering all the regional innovation scheme countries. And under this cluster, we're going to have also dedicated work package, which will be covering Ukraine and will kick off in 2023. What are the actions that are now proposed, and now we are evaluating proposals coming from the KICs. So these are like 4 streams. That one is about skills development, which is in the heart of what EIT does. Then linking closer Ukrainian ecosystem with EIT by setting up a physical EIT community risk hub in Ukraine. This is what we would like to do in 2023. Leveraging KIC's portfolios and expertise to support Ukraine in addressing the challenges. So designing programs that in collaboration with Ukrainian stakeholders, partners, could bring also partners from other countries to start addressing challenges that are faced by Ukraine. Of course, we're going also to include Ukrainian entrepreneurs, students, into the EIT Jumpstarter program, which actually, as a pilot, we already launched this year. we definitely invite all the partners or Ukrainian stakeholders to join. You can be a partner, you can only collaborate, or our calls, or our activity, majority of our activities are based on transparency and openness. So even if you are not a partner, you may apply for the funding, for innovation projects, for acceleration opportunities. I will provide you in the link our website with our opportunities, which could be followed. Of course, you may also sign up for the newsletter where all these informations are timely communicated. Of course, also all our calls and the calls of our communities are in the EU tender portal. Here you have a little bit more information. We'll share the slide with you, so you can use all the links. And there you may find all information, how you may engage with the communities. You may go directly to opportunities and funding. Definitely, we also understand that that was a common issue across all countries, that probably we need more visibility and more activities which could bring closer the offer of the EIT community to the stakeholders, to students, to organizations, to companies. And one element that we use is the network of EIT national contact points. And we really do believe that very soon we may have somebody from Ukraine to be nominated by Ukrainian authorities. I mentioned that we already started implementing some actions already in 2022. And here you have a few examples of activities. One of them is about bringing higher education institutions in the so-called higher education HEI initiative network. I will describe this initiative in a second. Already we managed to attract within the last 2 or 3 months 13 universities or higher education institutions from Ukraine. We actually wanted to attract more. That was probably we put probably very kind of the unrealistic target, but we want to continue this activity in 2023, and definitely would like to allocate more money and attract more partners. So far, for this only few months, we channeled around €500,000. Plan to channel around €500,000 to organizations that would be interested to collaborate with us. Another example of the program which we opened to Ukrainian stakeholders, and this is actually aimed at pupils and mainly girls, but also boys are invited, which has been developed under Digital Education Action Plan. And this program has been already translated in Ukrainian. I believe that we can also share the link to this program. So if you would like to promote this activity, you would like to engage schools, we are happy to collaborate on this. We will be happy to connect with the KIK, which is running this activity, which is, by the way, also EIT Raw Materials. So this is action which is really going on. Then three more activities. Maybe I will not go one by one. We're gonna to publish very soon, probably even this week, site in Ukrainian, where we're gonna to put all these opportunities in one place. But probably I would like to draw your attention to this pre-acceleration program that we just launched, and we want to kind of finish in 2022 still. To support several teams of entrepreneurs, to give them coaching, to give them money, and even to give them awards for those who are the best ones. Talking about this higher education initiative, a little bit of background. This is actually an initiative that is aimed at developing innovation capacities of universities. I mean, higher education initiatives, not only universities, but higher education sector. And our aim is to engage 550 organizations across Europe. We have quite significant funding for this. Only for these 2 years, around 40 million euro. But if the pilot, which we are now running, will be successful, then the funding will be increased. In summer, in response to Ukraine's association to Horizon Europe, we opened the program to Ukrainian stakeholders, As a result, we managed to attract 30 new organizations from Ukraine. These are the money that we mobilized for new Ukrainian partners. And we really do believe that for the next, at least next year, we managed to target more, that we might kind of bring more stakeholders into our programs. Of course, we will be very much happy to follow up and also to link you with the program and the program managers, relevant program managers. So in the presentation, you may find our email addresses. So we would be very much glad to if you could further promote this initiative. By the way, this is the list of Ukrainian organizations which managed to join the initiative in the next two months. And again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Here you have our email addresses, and we'll be very much happy to follow up with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your presentation. A lot of interesting and really important information there. So yes, if you have any questions, dear audience, please just let us know. And if not, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the event and just mention the questions. So thank you a lot. And we are now moving for the next speaker for today. So it is Roman Kuchko, co-founder of Rethink, and also Roman is an expert of the Ukrainian Startup Fund. The topic is about effective management of raw materials to ensure and develop the circular economy. What is more, Roman will be with us via the online video. So I will just share the screen and you will enjoy his discussion together with the slides on it.
Звук відсутній. Between circular economy and sustainability or climate neutrality, because sometimes we mix the things, and I think it's important to underline that whereas sustainability and climate neutrality are questions or issues that we answer, where are we going to? So what we're gonna achieve or what do we want to achieve? Circular economy is answering the other question, which is how. So rather than comparing or using both concepts, I just would like to say that circular economy is the set of tools and methods that lead us to achieving the goals of climate neutrality, elimination of carbon emissions and pollution, as well as reaching sustainable economy in the long term. Just to clarify, as this is really important, especially in this issue of raw materials management and extraction and reuse, etc., etc. So we are not creating some kind of circular economy, which is like ideal, whatever system of economy, and then in parallel we discuss sustainability and sustainable development goals and climate neutrality, because in this way we are mixing too many things. And I just want to underline that circular economy is a set of tools and methods and not the destination point we're talking about. And in some slides, just right now, I will elaborate a bit on how I see the circularity in raw materials management. Thank you so much for allowing me to elaborate and providing the time for this. Let's go. Okay, there we go. So this is the topic I was asked to cover within today's event. And I would like to start by expressing the importance of design in circular economy. Because if anyone asks me what is circular economy about, in one word, I would say definitely it is about the design. Why? Because everything that is surrounding us has been created somewhere, sometime, from some kind of raw materials by someone. And according to the European Commission, 80% of our ecological footprint of any product is decided at the design stage. So design is critically important for circularity, for sustainability, and for potential reuse or circularity of those raw materials we are putting into a product. Because once you have made something like an omelette on this picture, and you did not think about how to disassemble, how to separate the materials after the life cycle use, well, then it is really hard to go back and save some kind of value in this product. And I would like to also show you the SDI index, which is Sustainable Development Index. Maybe it's new for some of you, maybe you've heard about it. Why I think it is important to know, because it is the only index that includes material footprint per capita into its calculations. And basically it has been launched as an alternative to GDP by Jason Hickel, one of the economists and anthropologists, who says that GDP is no longer measuring our well-being, and we should include all these kind of indicators you can see on top of every column. Yeah, it's really the only one, but it is not a popular indicator to compare nations so far, unfortunately. And Ukraine is number 30 in the world by SDI, which I can imagine is good news, because there is hardly any ranking that Ukraine would be so high in. But still, there is a lot to work on, especially in material footprint per capita, because Ukraine's 11.98 tons per capita per year is extremely high. And if you range countries by material footprint per capita, then Ukraine would be far behind top 100. So something in between of the countries lists, in the middle, I mean. But can we actually decouple our economic growth from the growth in material extraction and emissions? Because many people are saying that we have to do this. So far, my observation is that we cannot. You can see this on the graph, which is related to emissions and GDP. The same thing we can see when we compare material footprint use and GDP growth. So the correlation is almost absolute in both occasions. That's why we have to make materials circular. But I have some good news for you, because I checked if it's really like decreasing or not, our material footprint per unit of GDP over time. And it is. For the last 20 years, it has decreased from 1.19 to 1.14 kilograms per whatever GDP number. But of course, it's a bit of irony. As we can see on the graph, it is fluctuating and it's almost stable. So really, we have to move to circularity in our materials use and materials reuse in order to decouple these things from GDP growth if we still want to measure our success by GDP growth, because that seems to be true in all these discussions we see in the governments. Okay, but what does this mean? How do we achieve circularity, and what implications does it bring? So I've defined 4 points to answer this question. First of all, it is important to substitute critical but toxic and low-performing materials. And it's hard to overestimate the importance of such substitution. And we have a very bright example in batteries components, how cobalt has been substituted in LFP batteries. And of course, we should point our attention to nickel as well in the future. I'm not going to talk about all the problems with cobalt and nickel and political issues, that most of it is controlled by China in case of cobalt and nickel in case of Russia, and all these stories about human rights violations and child labor in Congo while extracting cobalt. It's all very important, but the thing is that we have to substitute these materials because they are critical and they are, extracted not in an ethical way. We have to do that. And for that, we need innovations, first of all. Secondly, I think we have to ensure competitiveness of material circularity. Sometimes it happens that we innovate and we come up with a new material, but it's not competitive. For example, bioplastics is a great example. Or materials are so cheap that it's cheaper to buy a new product than to repair the old one. And I can cite this very bright case from the March of 2019 when we were sitting at the European stakeholder conference on circular economy, and Franz Timmermans said that, look, if I want to repair my toaster, it will cost me 25 euros. But if I want to have a new one, I could have it just for 12 euros. And of course, to my mind, it is insane and it has to change better sooner than later. It has to do, of course, with some fiscal encouragements, but okay, it's not in my role to judge about that. Thirdly, we have to promote transparency, traceability, accountability throughout value networks. And this is a great picture to illustrate that. It is basically the mapping of material flows in the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany area. And it's all kinds of construction and furniture and whatever materials that people see where they're going, and then they can take decisions. Okay, maybe we can reuse something locally, or maybe we can upcycle something closer than than it travels. So it is very important to use this kind of tools to ensure better circularity, because circularity has to be based on extensive information flows. And we see it in BIM. We see initiatives on material passports, geoinformation systems, all kinds of things. And like this example by Geofluxus from the Netherlands is very, it speaks for itself. And of course, if we are moving towards more classical understanding of circularity, we have to maximize value after the life cycle one through smarter use, upcycling or downcycling. And this is a bright example, again, from EV batteries, which could be easily reused for energy storages, and then this energy stored in these batteries could be used to balance those energy production gaps we obviously have from renewable sources like solar and wind. It was briefly about the 4 things that I find important. And of course, for that, we need more education, more innovation, and more cooperation in the chain and in this direction. A few words about us. We have been promoting circular economy also by organizing circular hackathons in 2018 and 2019. And we have many projects related to raw materials, and namely bio-based compostable alternatives, industrial extraction byproducts, construction materials from household waste, etc., etc. And happy to support and develop this ecosystem of circular innovators further. And I want to thank you for your attention, and I want to end this story with on a positive note, with a short recap. Have a good day.
So it was Roman Puchko, expert from the Ukrainian Startup Fund, with his really interesting and productive speech on the effective management of raw materials. And now we are moving to the case study from the startup. So Yulia Bielecka, she is co-founder of Sustainable Laboratory, and she will talk about the idea of creating and the basis of scaling the project from ecological packaging based on biotechnology. So Yulia, welcome. We can see your screen. Stage is yours.
Okay, good. Hi, everyone. I'm Julia, and as mentioned, I'm a CEO and co-founder of SLab. And in SLab, we produce sustainable packaging at the industrial scale. And just a few words about me. I graduated from Kyiv, Taras Shevchenko Kyiv National University and obtained a master's degree in biotechnology. And funny to say that I never worked as biologist or biotechnologist after that, because I quickly started my career in the IT industry, where I had 10 years of experience in project and team management. And then almost 2 years ago, I became the CEO and co-founder of SLab. And I think the combination of those two factors, at first I had education that was related to biotechnology, and I obtained a deep knowledge in that field. And then I had the experience with real team management, project management, building the team, because that's usually what you do when you have your own startup, or if you want to achieve something. You become an expert, or you are an expert in some field, but then you will have to lead your team. And you will have to develop your team and to work together. You will have to plan the project and do the presentations, do the pitches, and be a risk manager at some point. So I think this was the combination in my life that worked perfectly. But of course, SLab, it's not me. it's the whole team, and everything what I will be telling is achievement of the whole team, not only me. So just quick note about that. And how it all started, I think so far a lot of people saw this picture, but actually me and co-founder of SLab and my husband at the same time, we saw this with our own eyes because we were traveling on Bali in this paradise island. And one day we went to the seaside and saw those mountains of the plastic trash. And it was not just the trash that was, left by someone. It was really mountains of the plastic that came from the ocean. And this was the first time when we realized how bad the problem is. And basically, we just started to talk about it all the time. And all our free time, we were talking about it, trying to find some solutions. So basically, we were just doing our own research and development at that time. And we knew that in order to create a new material, there needs to be two components, or two main components, I would say. First is the skeleton, or the component that gives strength to the material. And then the glue that binds or glues everything together. And that's how we get the biocomposite. And of course, in our case, we wanted to create the material that would be sustainable, eco-friendly, and safe for the environment. So we were focused on the organic components for both, for skeleton and for glue. And we did our own research and development, or R&D, but it was like homemade R&D, because we were doing it just together with having our main jobs. And in the free time, we were just listening to all the lections that we could find, to all the trainings, watching all the videos that were available, reading all the articles, researches, and looking into the market, what is already available, what is working out, what doesn't work out. And during all of those researches, we found out that there is such a great component, such a great plant as hemp. It is industrial plant that has a pretty long history, but in 1960 it was actually banned from usage for various reasons. But that's not the point. But we found out that hemp has the strongest fiber among other plants, and it is hyperallergenic. Rats don't like to eat it, and already there are more than 2,000 product items that are produced out of it. So we started to kind of do experiments, or do our do the research with this material. So we literally bought a small chunk of the hemp and started to create biocomposite out of it on our own kitchen. And we were gluing it with the glues that were available on the market. And those glues were basically synthetic. So we quickly understood that by mixing even organic component with synthetic glue, we are still getting to the polymerization process that cannot be undone, basically. So this hemp will not ever biodegrade to the same state as it was. So it was not the best solution, and that's why we had to find something in nature organic, that will glue our hemp together. And that was mycelium. Mycelium is a mushroom root. Basically, when you see mushrooms, you usually see the fruit body of the mushroom, the leg and the head. But mycelium, it is something that is under the soil, and it has gluing or binding features. So basically, when you feed something into mycelium, it starts to bind and to glue everything together. And that's how we get a very strong and reliable material. And that's how it looks. I have a small sample. And at that point, we understood that probably that's our solution. We found it. And that's what we were doing. We started to mix those two components together. And then we wanted to prove that it is really biodegradable. And we actually throw it into our own yard. And the material itself biodegraded in 30 days in the soil. So it was proved even by us that it is 100% biodegradable. And even more, after the usage, it will fertilize the soil to which it was thrown. So basically, we were happy. We found the solution. But of course, then there was the harder part to bring it to the market. And we had three theories, or three possible applications of the material. First, we thought that it could be building material. As you see in the picture, it could be bricks, it could be panels. Then we thought that also it could be design elements or decor elements, any size, any shape. And the other option was to create packaging out of it. So what we did, we just started to going outside, talking to the potential customers, to the potential users, and started testing our theories. And our first project was with Altruist, the restaurant in Kyiv. And this is our first official customer. And we created a project with them where we created decor and some building elements for the interior of this restaurant. So in the pictures, you can see lamp vase and other elements that were created for this restaurant. And also other projects during this kind of evaluation of what's best to do out of the material was the Paris Design Week last year, where we participated. And again, we showcased the decor elements out of this material. And it was, of course, a huge success. And we raised lots of awareness and there were, of course, much more projects, not only those two. And we raised awareness about the material, how it works, and the possible applications. But it was the big question for us. So where is the impact? Because by replacing waste that is done or produced out of clay or glass, we don't make that much of impact because waste would be used for years and years. So it's not a single-use material. And basically, impact is not that big. And then, of course, we thought about the construction materials. And there are several issues with the construction materials as well, especially in our case, because if you want to create something for building industry, you have to go through several certifications and you have to obtain so many certificates because they need to know every single detail, every single feature of the material. And then also for the construction, they need huge volumes of the material. And that's why we understood that design it doesn't have that much impact. Building materials, probably we cannot go that fast right now. And there was the third option, the packaging. And that's actually a single-use material or the materials that are used in the packaging currently are single-use because the products are used or are just stored or delivered in the packaging and then packaging is thrown away. So this means that actually packaging lives much longer than the products in it because plastic, polystyrene and other materials, they will just stay on the landfills for years, for hundreds of years. And we all know about that. And that's where it kind of clicked in our minds that we should create the replacement of polystyrene because the material itself that we created looks and feels like polystyrene. And polystyrene in the packaging industry leads to significant CO2 emissions. And then the landfills are covered with the polystyrene. The 30% of worldwide landfills are covered with it. And of course, even worse, it pollutes waters, oceans, and animals' bodies, and so on. And then, of course, there were sustainable regulations in place. The European Green Deal requires actually manufacturers to limit usage of plastic and styrofoam or polystyrene. And then also customers are voting for the eco-friendly materials because they prefer to buy products that are packed into sustainable packaging. And we started to produce the packaging out of our material that is 100% biodegradable. It has the same thermally insulating features, the same waterproof features, but the main thing is that our packaging will never end up on the landfills. It is a natural replacement of polystyrene that can be applied in several industries, can be cushioning for beauty and self-care products, lodgements for electronics or other devices. It can be just packaging for delivery and transportation of the clothing, shoes, toys, design elements, decor, and even thermally insulating boxes for food and pharmaceutics. And again, of course, this was the great theory, and we started to obtain the first clients for the packaging. But again, we had to fully prove the concept and to go outside, to talk to the potential customers, to see their pain, and to see if they are willing to switch from the current packaging solutions to the new alternatives and how fast can they launch the new packaging or apply the new packaging. Once we got approval from several customers and even started to get real money from them, so basically executing the orders and delivering the packaging to them, we started to seek help from different institutions like startup competitions, pitch competitions, acceleration programs, incubators. And basically we participated in so many programs, and I would recommend everyone to take every chance and to participate in all of those events, all those programs that are available, because each of them brings so much value, and these are different types of values. Someone brings expertise, someone brings money, someone connects you with the client, someone connects with the investors, and but it's all needed in order to succeed and to really implement the new project or new green tech startup. And quickly, just about our path, how it all started. Of course, there were much more competitions and wins and losses, but these are like the main, I would say, are the ones that contributed the most in 2021. First, we got 100,000 hryvnias from DLUA. That it was a grant, so basically no equity. We won in a competition among small and medium businesses. And another 100,000 hryvnias from Visa. There was a pitch competition, and it was like an elevator pitch where you had to give only 1 minute pitch. And there were 5 winners, and we were one of those winners that got again grant from Visa, so no equity. And this might seem a small amount, but in reality, when we were at that early stage, it really helped us to build the first prototypes, to start delivering even more to our customers, and basically understand that this is something that is interesting to the audience, to the customers, and that we can work on it. Probably in 2021, the biggest was that we won the national startup competition in Ukraine, and then became top 3 startups in the world in the category green. And what is important that it's not only about the competition itself. It's during the competition you will talk to the mentors. You will be able to practice your pitch. You will be able to work on your presentation, and that's what leads to the next step. So it's all like a build up. You start with something, then go to another competition, then participate in the other program, and you get the connections that are so important in order to build startup. So when we won this national startup competition, we actually were invited as the jury member of this contest. Saw us when we were pitching, and they invited us to get into the European accelerator, Startup Wise Guys, pretty famous accelerator in Europe. I would say that it's the biggest in Europe. And we went through the acceleration program with them. It actually started in 2022, even though we won in 2021. And also during this acceleration, they invested into us. So the Startup Wise Guys became our first investor. And then again, they helped with the educational program, with all the connections, with all the introductions to the potential customers, other potential investors and partners. Again, it was a build-up, but during all of those programs, we realized that the most important thing is that if we want to be successful, we need to be able to scale our production and our technology. Basically, we need to not only create packaging or sell packaging, we need to create the technology that will be scalable and that would help to deliver sustainable packaging to every location of the world, and basically that everyone could adapt to this technology and use it and use the packaging that comes out of it for their own usage. And that's what we are focusing right now. We are working on the scalability of the technology. So right now we are selling packaging, but soon we will be selling the technology. We will be most likely licensing, and we are still in the process of figuring out the business model. But how we unlock scalability in our case is that we will put the mini factories into the 40-foot containers that are usually used for the delivery by ships. But in our case, we will use them in order to put packaging, in order to put production lines into the containers. And then those containers will be set up at the customer's premises, and packaging will be produced basically at the customer's premises. In this way, it will be available at any location of the world where the container would be set up. And in 2022, it is a list of the events that we participated in programs, and I think I didn't list even all of them, but still you can see that it is a pretty massive list of the conferences, of the programs and events that we participated in. So we still continue, even though we are working on the technology or scaling it most of the time, but still we continue to go outside and to talk to our potential customers, to see if there are any new partners, and even just be open to everything what we hear, what we see. And most recent win that we got is actually we became, or we won the third prize on the European regionals on the climate launchpad. And I think that's the institute EIT that is also, or PIC that is part of this competition. So yeah, for our goals for the next year, I would say is to finish building this scalable technology. And now we are raising the pre-seed investment round and get even more contracts from the corporate users and corporate customers. Because, for example, we even were able to talk to Sony, the producer of electronics, and their words were that we are desperately looking for sustainable packaging and sustainable solutions. So can you imagine that corporate companies saying to you something like that they are desperately looking for something? And it just shows how big opportunities right now are with the alternative materials and their application. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for listening, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks a lot for your presentation. We're really happy to see such talented startups in our USF portfolio, and wish you really good luck. Participate in all of the international conferences and move on, because it's really good project with a highly important social impact. So thanks a lot for your time today and your presentation. And we are now moving forward for the final speaker for today, Lech Koniuk. He is CEO of Sunroof International Holding, and he will talk about energy solutions for a sustainable future regarding the Swedish and Polish experience. So, dear Lech, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Thank you a lot for having the opportunity to be here and present our case. And yeah, I'm happy to also share about our company and what we're doing. So we are a solar roof company, but just to give a better background of how and what we actually do. So if we go back, so if you look at traditional solar panels, there's a few things here. One thing is it isn't really aesthetic. You need to put a mounting system on top of the roof. You use quite a lot of material. You need to have a roof in the first place, and you're not allowed to build also the full, the full size of the roof because of wind loads. So what we do is actually a building integrated solution, and we use traditional solar technology. So this means that we produce as much power per square meter of active area as a traditional top PV panel. But the difference is that our modules are the tiles of the roof. So we have a 2-in-1 solution where the PV installation is also the external roof. What this gives is quite a lot of benefits. One is obviously the visual and that it looks better, but you use less material. You don't need to build first a roof, then a mounting system, and then put the PV panels on top. So using less materials is obviously very good, and also in terms of CO2 footprint, which becomes more and more relevant and important to also have. As construction industry is using having a very big part of the CO2 emissions, this is one way to also reduce the emissions in the sector. But another thing is also that we building in this way, you can actually build the whole surface, because we don't need to take in consideration the wind loads, because it's integrated in the roof, and the winds are not disturbing and pulling in the modules. And the final thing is that when you don't first build a roof and then a mounting system and then PV panels, you actually get a lower weight. So on older buildings and industrial buildings and so on, especially in areas where you get also snow, it's very relevant to also take in consideration to decrease the load you get on the building. So here's a few examples that I wanted to share with you. This is a project outside Stockholm in Sweden. It's one of my favorite projects, actually. The garage is also similar to this building. Here are residential family houses with apartment buildings, 3 of them, and as you can see, it looks really good compared to how it looks like with the building in the background with the traditional modules. This is a project in Poland, and this was quite an interesting solution we did. The customer wanted to also mimic the bricks on the roof, so we actually have used colored glass to give also a red solution on top. And this is so previous ones was new construction, but here's a roof renovation. It's quite of a busy roof, typical Swedish house with also a chimney and windows on the roof and ladders. But as you can see, it really looks good also in the roof renovation. And here's another project in Poland, and you can see that even on a very old building, it can look really good with a solar roof. Here's also an example, because we don't only use the roof, we can actually use the wall. So here's a house that we have done also the facade. And here's actually a newly built library in Poland, where you can see that it's both the wall and the roof, which is filled with solar modules. And we have also done for Volvo and Polestar in Sweden, carports, and Solaris, which is a Polish electrical bus manufacturer. So we just completed their bus stop or charging station for the buses. And and these different projects are quite interesting, I think, to show you, because we do think that this is the future of the new kind of energy infrastructure. So looking at different things that are happening right now, so we do have different energy sources that are actually becoming more and more expensive. But in terms of solar, this is actually becoming cheaper and cheaper. And I think that if you would count all the negative effects and really take in consideration everything, so I think solar is actually the cheapest energy source today. The other thing which is also very interesting is that we have a very rapid adoption of electrical vehicles. And this is also driving an increase in the energy consumption. So there's a significant increase in energy consumption if someone buys and owns an electrical vehicle. And what's interesting, if we do a traditional house and the house gets a sunroof, which is using all the space on the roof, the house can actually produce more energy than the house need. And this is exactly what we want to do. So the excess energy can be used for your electrical vehicle. I will mention also a little bit in the future, because with time, we will also deploy something called a virtual power plant. That means that the house that produces more energy can also participate as a energy production facility and actually use this energy or share this energy to other buildings or to the grid. So the owner of the house, if it overproduces energy, can actually make money on the energy that is actually sold. And if we look at the European Union is I would say very engaged in the climate topic, but we see that in the United States as well and other countries in the world outside the European Union as well. They see that they have to act and have to do different things, and there's a lot of different initiatives. So we have the European Green Deal, we have the Fit for 50. And these are initiatives that wants to decrease the CO2 footprint and work for a better climate. But for geopolitical reasons, European Commission have also initiated something called Repower Europe, and this is to become really independent on energy from Russia. And in this whole strategy, it's very clear. It's straightforward that the solar roofs are actually a strategic, important area. And what the European Union wants to do is actually to create a mandatory solar roof on every new roof that is actually built. And the plans are to introduce this in different phases, and starting with governmental buildings and commercial buildings, but all the way down to residential buildings. So even if someone builds a new house, they have to have a solar roof. And what's interesting is we already see in Europe different countries actually taking the decision to introduce this much quicker. So we have Germany, we have France working on this. I know that Sweden, Denmark, and the Netherlands, they are looking at actually making mandatory solar roofs for new builds, even for residential. And if we think about a mandatory solar roof and we want to decrease CO2 and we still want the cities to look good, we actually think that building integrated solutions is the right way to go. And this is why we think it's very exciting for us to actually be in the space, which is very, very new. And looking at other solutions that are on the market, I think many recognizes that Tesla has a solar roof, but this technology doesn't produce as much power per square meter and is quite expensive. And I think the building integrated solutions haven't really started taken off yet worldwide because they have been very expensive. But we're actually coming down with our product to position where smaller roofs they're slightly more expensive. They're like 10, maybe 20% more expensive than if you would build a normal roof and then put PV on top of it. But for bigger roofs, and especially big, simple roofs, we can actually be cheaper than first building a roof and then the PV. So for different types of buildings, this is actually super, super interesting because we could actually get it down. And my estimation is that within 2 to 3 years, we will actually see that building integrated roofs will produce more power and will be cheaper than building first a roof and then having this traditional solution. So we operate today in Sweden, Poland, and Germany. We have started to deliver roofs in Denmark and Norway, Czech Republic. We've delivered a roof in Switzerland and Italy. And our plans are expanding in Europe and beyond. We also have a pilot in the United States. And we see that this solution works really well in different environments. And we have even built roofs really far up in northern parts of Sweden. And people are realizing that it's much better to have a roof that will produce energy and a value than just having a dead material on top of a roof. And we focus on residential. You saw quite a lot of residential solution. This is the reason why we do this is it's just simpler and faster to go this way. But we also want to go into other industrial buildings and public. Well, the library is a public building, so we do expand into these segments. And what's maybe very interesting to also mention, we are already discussing with several banks and financial institutions. And what we want to do as a solution for governments, and we're talking with a few cities in Poland especially, where we want to offer a roof renovation or new construction for €1. So basically the city doesn't have to change anything in their budget to get a solar roof or a roof renovation with solar. And the exchange is that the value of the electricity the roof is producing, this is what the city is paying off the roof for. So basically the roof is paying off itself. And at some point, it will stay on the building and have been paid off and keep producing energy and value for the building. And this is a very interesting solution. We know that this has been done previously. There has been cities that have changed, for example, traditional light bulbs to LED lighting. And this has been financed exactly in this way, where the budget for the city and the investment has been zero, and everything has been made by a bank that has financed the investment. And then the energy savings coming from the LED lightings are used to pay off the debt, and afterwards it's just a benefit. And our roofs after 25 years will still have 90% of nominal energy production. So the lifetime of these roofs are so long, and the power production is so high over time, so that the roof will actually pay off itself multiple times. The other benefit with obviously solar roofs are that this is an energy source where you produce the energy where you consume it, and it's a very safe energy source as well. And I mentioned about connecting then everything. This is our next step. So we want to connect and have something called a virtual power plant. So this means that when we can see how the energy production is made and how the energy consumption is done, we can actually then optimize for self-consumption, for example, but we can also be a partner for the grid to balance the amount of energy in the grid. So this means that if the house also have a battery or an electrical vehicle, and let's say that the energy grid needs more energy, we can actually push out energy from our customers' batteries into the grid to support the grid with fueling it with more energy. But it can also be the other way around. So if there's too much energy in grids, you need to pull out energy to balance it. And then we can actually push back energy into our customers' batteries and electrical vehicles. So this is our next step. We are doing pilot projects, and this is not really deployed yet, but this is coming, and there's already a lot of solutions for so-called virtual power plants internationally. So this is nothing really very new, but it will be very new and innovative for residential and smaller buildings, because usually virtual power plants are used on bigger assets. So that was a short introduction to what we do and our company, and we think that the building integrated solar roofs is the way forward and is a key element in the new energy infrastructure. And we see a lot of opportunities that this can be deployed in a very big scale, especially with support from financial institutions. And we really hope that this will also be the case for Ukraine and the rebuilding of a lot of real estate. So thank you a lot for the opportunity again to present the company.
Thanks a lot. I will remind it was Lech Koniuk, CEO of Sunroof International Holding. And yes, this experience, I believe, is really valuable for also Ukrainian ecosystem development. So thank you for this deep case study about your own Swedish and Polish experience and background in this industry. So as we can see in our YouTube stream, we have no additional questions from the participants, and maybe our individuals in this chat, in this stream will share some questions with the speakers. If you have some questions, just raise your hand and welcome. I see the chat is also empty, so if you will have any additional questions just after our discussion, please contact me and I will just contact you with a direct person to whom this question concerns. So I will kindly just thank you that it was really great project together with EU and Ukrainian ecosystem stakeholders regarding the raw materials project together with the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. And in behalf of the Ukrainian Startup Fund, thanks a lot for your participation, for your time and great discussions today. So we will save to get this stream in our official YouTube channel, so you can you will have an opportunity to review all these presentations. And thanks for your time. Have a good day and see you with Ukrainian Startup Fund. Bye.
Bye.